Hey, Magnus here, and you saw the title of the video. What if Shenmue 3 was only an hour long? See, now first of all, let me confirm the fact that it's going to be a lot longer than that. This is a crowdfunded project, but we have been reassured countless times that this is going to be a long game. And for the value that you're paying for it, for $60 if you buy the game, it's definitely got to be worth its money. But let's entertain the fact that what if it wasn't as long? Now, if you don't know what Shenmue 3 is, Shenmue 3 is a crowdfunded Kickstarter game that is the third in the series of Yu Suzuki's franchise that really opened the door to open world games. Now, this game, be it the fact that it's crowdfunded, you almost have to set your expectations. Know that there will be some limitations when it comes to that game. Now, a trailer was recently released and it looks pretty darn good for a crowdfunded game. Now, it's not a AAA title, but it still is pleasing to at least those that have looked at it and don't exactly have super high expectations, because it is what it is. Now, one of the questions I asked in one of my live streams was, are all the NPCs going to have voices? And it turns out that they will, but not all of the characters will be approachable, and you can't have discussions with everybody like you did in the past Shenmue games. But you'll still hear a lot of dialogue, and there was a heck of a lot of dialogue recorded for this game. But when it comes to the actual game length, what have we seen so far? We've seen very limited scenery, we've seen very limited interaction. I mean, the game's only a couple of months away, and we've seen very little about what can possibly happen, and all the environments seem to be the same. Now, that got me thinking. One would think that the reason that they did that was simply because they want to keep as much of the story under wraps as possible, because story matters so much in Shenmue 3. But I had started to think, what if there wasn't much more than what we've already seen of the game? What if it was just a couple of scenes in that town, you play for maybe an hour of gameplay, and then it's another cliffhanger, or you're left wondering what else is there? Now, games have done this before. For example, Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes had you pay $30 for a game that was essentially beatable in one sit-through, one playthrough. But that game was $30. Shenmue is thought to be a good $60 game USD. But have game companies done that before? Have game companies charged full price or near full price, besides Metal Gear in recent memory, and done it? Now, I grew up in the 80s and 90s when games were like 20 to 30 minutes long. Maybe some of the longer ones were pretty much an hour, but then you had some RPGs which were much longer than that. But it wasn't uncommon. But also, save games were not common as either. So you didn't have save games, and you pretty much expected one playthrough, and you still paid as close to $40 or $50 for those games. Now, AAA games growing up, especially when you jumped into 3D, you expected a longer playthrough, maybe 4 or 5 hour gameplay, if not longer. Now, today we're seeing 20 to 30 hours worth of gameplay. But when I was growing up and when 3D came into play, there was a game that was advertised a lot called Parappa the Rappa, and I remember it looked so cool. I'm into like music games and stuff. It looked so cool, and then when playing it, I bought it for the PlayStation, sat down, played it, and I was done in less than an hour, I believe. I was pretty good, and I got through it because, again, I love rhythm games, but I was like, I felt slighted. Like, all that money and this game is already over. Now, I played it on and became a classic just because those songs were a bit catchy, but that's how it felt. It felt like, oh, I had my money stolen. Now, in Shenmue 3, if it's an hour gameplay, what type of repercussions would modern fans who are not used to such short gameplay have? Now, you can expect repercussions such as, for the fact is, if you pay $60 and you only get like an hour's worth of gameplay, you're gonna have a lot of people either returning the game or demanding their money back, because quite honestly, it's kind of short for what you'd expect. Another problem with doing that is that if the game's only an hour, then you're going to leave a lot of hardcore fans upset. We waited 18, 19 years, put down our hard-earned money for this game, and we got something short. When we've been promised to have such a long game. It would be so disappointing to see that it's just over so quickly. Every moment's gonna be enticing, but then to have it end abruptly would not be a good thing for this franchise. And it could almost pretty much kill the franchise, especially if it's over so quickly. It took this long to develop, which is not uncommon for a game to take a couple of years to develop. They really started production in 2016. But now it's 3 years later, 2019, and about 3.5 years of development. What are you going to get? An hour worth of gameplay? That would not be nice. And finally, one of the other worst things that we can possibly expect amongst the repercussions is the loss in faith from a developer standpoint. You would have Sega walking away. You would have Sony, who actually took a risk when it came to helping this game come out, just kind of turning away and saying, we gave you all this support, we gave you this stage at E3 in 2015, and then you deliver an hour? It took 3 years for an hour? However, calm your horses. I could hear the comments right now like, what are you doing? It's not gonna be that. Thankfully, it's not gonna be that. From what we've seen and from what we've heard, gameplay is going to be pretty extensive, and there's going to be a lot to do. You're going to melt into this world, and that's what I expect. We may be expecting very little from this game because, again, it's a Kickstarter project. It's crowdfunded, but I think it's a safe bet to expect that Shenmue 3 will be a long game. And there were even rumors that it was going to be longer than Shenmue 2, which is nuts. But there is, from what I did hear, environments are going to be as large as the Hong Kong section in Shenmue 2, which is pretty impressive because Hong Kong in Shenmue 2 was quite large. And if the game just revolves around that type of area, I'm good with that as long as they have sufficient story to revolve around it. But what do you guys think? How much do you think gameplay length matters? I, for one, think that it does matter, especially for this type of story-driven game. But what do you guys think? Or do you think replayability, especially if it's shorter than you expect, can hold it alive to hopefully get a Shenmue 4? I don't know. I just decided to ask the question and start a conversation with you guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, share, and as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys later.